Tommy was sat covered in tomato sauce stains from his spaghetti hoops when the announcement was made. The earth would be dead in 7 days. Tommy looked bemused at the radio. He moved closer and pressed his ear against the speaker. The announcement was repeated. There was no reason given. The earth would be dead in 7 days. All that is living would be dead. He sat back down again. He waited for the rush of people, the screaming, the crying, but nothing happened outside his window. The street was quiet as usual. He wondered if everybody was doing the same. Was everybody sat in an armchair waiting for the rush of people, the screaming, the crying? Everybody was waiting and nobody was doing anything. Tommy stood up and walked outside. It was warm. He saw Stan walk out of the next door house. They stared at each other. Stan spoke. "What are you going to do then?" Tommy shrugged his shoulders and said, "I suppose I should do something spectacular." "You?" Stan contemplated his own question. "I don't know. I doubt I'll be doing anything spectacular. No, maybe that's for the best." Tommy went back inside and began writing a list. In the list he made 3 columns. In the first he listed what he wanted to do that was possible. This included writing explicit graffiti on the wall of his old school. In the second he listed what he wanted to do that wasn't possible now. This included releasing a #1 album. In the third he listed the people he wanted to see before the 7 days were up. This included Becky, the girl he dated for 3 months, 4 years ago. It did not include Lucy, the girl he dated for 3 years until 2 weeks ago. Tommy's list grew. He kept on writing throughout the night. He finished the list and realised there were now 6 days left. He knew that spending a day writing a list would not make it on the list, but he couldn't abandon it now. That'd be an even worse waste. So Tommy came to peace with the list of impossible ideas and scratched them all off. This was fine. Tommy began scratching off the things that would either eat him too much of the time or weren't too important. He was no longer going to write explicit graffiti on his school wall. He was no longer going to jump in the canal opposite the house to see how it felt. He was no longer going to visit his mother. He was from a big family. Someone would visit. And then Tommy began remembering other ideas and other people. His list began growing again. He wanted to drive a car for the first time. He wanted to listen to Rubber Soul at full blast on his old vinyl player. He wanted to visit Patrick, his best friend from school, who he'd agreed to meet up with last year and then cancelled. He started putting things back on. Tommy debated not sleeping, but realising he wouldn't appreciate the time if he was awake 7 days straight, so he went to bed. Tommy woke to realise he was down to 5 days. He vowed to start. He found Becky's number. He called her. She did not answer. Tommy tried again throughout the day. There was no answer. He scratched Becky off the list. Tommy was down to 4 days, but a smaller list. He decided that he would work out where the best place to watch it all end. He researched the best mountains, the best valleys, the best cityscapes, and decided. He knew it was cliched, but he decided it would be at sunrise. Sunrise as the world ended was going to occur on the west coast of America. Tommy called the airline. There was no answer. Tommy realised there would be no air travel in the last 7 days of this earth. Tommy was down to 3 days. Tommy finalised it. He would spend his 3 days with people. He'd always been a sociable sort and he should go out as he lived it. He called old friends, new friends. He called Lucy. They had other plans. They were with other family, other halves, on top of mountains. With 2 days left, Tommy began scratching out anything that was not possible or not important. This included driving his first car. And he'd still not decided where he would be as the world stopped. He would be on his own, and Tommy decided, and he went to sleep. Tommy woke up on the final day. The street was silent. Tommy put on Rubber Soul on his iPod and walked outside. He stripped out of his tomato sauce-stained clothes, and naked, ran and jumped into the canal, and submerged, there he stayed.